I used to believe I had time. That belief was my greatest lie. At 19, life should have felt vast and electric, but my days bled into each other, indistinguishable and slow. I'd wake late, scroll endlessly, tell myself I'd start tomorrow. Classes became optional. Assignments, they could wait. I wasn't lazy, I told myself. I was just tired, uninspired, overwhelmed. I'd stare at my laptop, guilt knotting in my stomach, while my fingers opened another tab of videos, games, memes. It wasn't that I didn't care. I did. But my care felt stuck behind a wall of invisible glass, unreachable and blurry. My friends slowly pulled ahead. One got an internship, another launched a small business. I liked their posts, smiled on the outside. But inside, I felt hollow, like I was watching a race from behind a locked gate, the cheering growing distant while I stood still. And still I did nothing. I feared trying and failing more than I feared failing by doing nothing. Because if I didn't try, I had an excuse. But if I gave it my all and still failed, that would confirm every fear I carried. So I chose distraction. I numbed myself. And every day I did that, a small piece of me vanished. There were nights when I'd lie in bed staring at the ceiling, haunted by the ticking clock. My heart raced not because of deadlines, but because I knew, deep down, that I was wasting something I could never get back. Time, and with it, my potential. It wasn't depression, not exactly. It was more subtle than that. A quiet rot, an invisible erosion of self-worth. I still laughed with people, still posted photos, but beneath all that was a boy who was drowning in stillness, screaming behind silence. I thought I was alone in this fog, until I noticed someone I had never really seen before. The janitor. He was always there, sweeping halls at dawn, wiping windows in the afternoon, locking up late at night. Quiet, unnoticed, consistent. While I slept through mornings, he was already working. While I wasted hours, he moved through his tasks with calm purpose. There was no audience, no recognition, yet he moved like what he did mattered. I began to watch him, not out of curiosity, but because something about his rhythm made my chaos unbearable. He had order, I had excuses. And then, one morning, by accident or fate, I crossed paths with him at sunrise, both of us the only ones awake on campus. That moment would change everything. He looked up from mopping the floor, eyes kind but unreadable. I mumbled a good morning, unsure why I was even there so early. Maybe I wanted to feel something different. Maybe I just wanted to see if his world really was as steady as it seemed. He nodded, said nothing, and continued working. That silence, it wasn't awkward. It was full of something I couldn't explain. A peace, maybe. A purpose. I sat on a bench nearby, pretending to scroll through my phone. But really, I watched him work. Every motion was deliberate, not rushed, not slow, just steady. There was no grandeur in cleaning up after hundreds of students, no applause waiting at the end of his shift. But he did it anyway, day after day, morning after morning. The consistency shook something in me. The next day, I woke early again, and again, I saw him. After a week, I started helping him carry the trash out. He didn't ask why. He just passed me a pair of gloves and nodded. We didn't talk much, and somehow that made the lesson louder. In those quiet mornings, I learned more than any lecture had ever taught me. I learned that time doesn't shout, it slips by in whispers. I learned that work isn't about grand results, but about showing up every day, even when no one watches. He once handed me a broom without a word. I took it and swept beside him. That morning, I felt something shift inside me. For the first time, I wasn't hiding from effort. I was part of it. Soon, I set an alarm before bed, not because I had to, but because I wanted to. I began attending classes again, not with dread, but with curiosity. I stopped lying to myself about what I could be and started trying to become it. Not overnight, not in giant leaps, but in small, consistent steps. That janitor never gave me a speech. He never told me to work harder or warned me about wasting time. He didn't need to. His life was the lesson. His presence was the guide. Years later, I graduated. I walked across the stage, tears in my eyes, thinking of all those silent mornings. I searched for him afterward, but he had retired. No one even knew his full name, but I carried his lesson into every job, every choice, every day. Now, I keep a framed quote on my desk. Not a famous one, just something I scribbled after one of those early mornings. Work is not about being seen. It's about becoming. In the end, the people who change us most aren't always loud. Sometimes they teach through the quiet, through consistency, through patience, through presence. And sometimes the greatest transformations begin not with a leap, but with picking up a broom. So, if you're stuck, if you're numb, if you're lost, don't wait for a spark. Start with a step. Never sit idle again. If this story touched you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Like, comment with your thoughts, and subscribe for more human stories that matter.